In this video I'm going to analyse some of my shots just to see really if there's any quick wins, any quick improvements that I can make and apply to my game straight away. Just to give a little bit of context to anybody who might be watching, I started to play tennis at the age of 4 thanks to a father who was both a fanatic about the game and also a coach. This meant that despite not ever having an individual coaching lesson, I did attend regular group coaching sessions all the way through my childhood and played in junior competitions from about the age of 8 or 9 years old right through till about 16. I've played a lot of sort of low to mid-level club tennis, I guess, over my years, but now I'm very much just a social player who likes to gather with a group of like-minded individuals and have a good hit from time to time. I am, however, still interested in trying to improve my game wherever possible. The other thing to be aware of is the time frame. I am actually now in my 50s, which means that I actually learned to play in the 70s and early 80s, and most of my strokes will probably reflect this in some way or another. So I'm likely to play more of an old style forehand, old-fashioned style backhand and these kind of things, but obviously I'll be bearing that in mind when I'm looking at the strokes. And just to clarify, I'm not a coach, I'm just somebody who's been around the game and watched the game and watched players my whole life and just have an interest in self-improvement. As usual, we start off pretty close to the net, and the idea here is just to find the centre of the strings and then to loosen up those joints and muscles a little bit so that we don't strain ourselves when we start hitting the ball from the back. Okay, so let's see how we got on. Gotta be honest, that's not too bad there. And good from the Poacher too. Even on these two low ones I've done okay there. Now we're at the back of the court, I can get a better look at my ground strokes. I picked this rally in particular so I can have a good look at a few of my forehands. Then I can pick out one or two and we can have a closer look. Watch them through a couple of times in full speed and then I'll slow it down and look at some of the key points of each shot. I start with a nice little bounce here just as Poacher hits the ball, but let's see what my setup looks like. Not too bad. I've got my feet vaguely into position, playing from a closed stance. I've got my racket back up fairly neutrally. My offhand is out, give me some extra balance. Looking clearly at the ball, prepared to hit, and that's just as the ball bounces. That's pretty good, I'd say. Then the swing itself, not too bad. I managed to get my bigger muscles, my body moving into the ball. I've got a good contact position in front of me, which is quite nice. I'd like to see a little bit more spacing, hitting the ball a little bit further away, and I'd love to see a little bit more use of my offhand here as well. And the follow through is not too bad here. I've managed to catch the racket and my rear foot's come round just after the shot as well, which is pretty much what I'd want it to be. I chose this second example because I have to move across to hit the ball, and this means that I'm hitting it from a much more open stance. This shot's quite a bit flatter than the first one, but still has enough topspin to give an element of control and still a very solidly hit shot, pretty much where I'm aiming it, which is a good sign. I also seem to move pretty well both to and away from the shot. Right, let's have a closer look. My setup and preparation here is pretty good again. I get across quickly and by the time the ball's bouncing, I'm already pretty much set. I've got my unit turn, my racket's up, I've managed to get my offhand across to try and create some decent spacing, and I'm pretty set up and just maybe need to make final adjustments ready to take the shot. I'll take one big final step here and make sure that my back foot is solidly planted so that I can drive off it to actually make the shot itself and really get my body engaged into the shot. I'm not quite sure why my offhand is so become tucked in here. I'd really prefer to be using that a bit better to give me just some extra balance and stability for the shot. The contact point looks pretty decent now. I've got better spacing on this shot, coming from beneath the ball a little bit, playing it a little bit out in front of me. I get a good solid connection here, and follow through's not bad but feels a little bit held back, and again very passive offhand here. I'd like to see that again used more for balance and to catch the racket at the end of the follow through, but really nice to see that I'm already bouncing back towards the centre and in position ready for when the Poacher's about to hit his next shot. I found a clip here of two decent backhands together, so this should prove useful for analysis. I should explain as we watch these that up until 9 or 10 years ago I literally only had a slice backhand. Now, quite a nasty lefty slice, admittedly, but I was really struggling with hitting solid returns of serve without the backhand floating, so I decided I needed to develop some kind of more flat or topspin backhand as a solution, and I think my progress has been pretty decent so far. My technique's a lot better than I expected it to be. So what's my preparation like in the setup stage here? Well, I manage a decent split step here. Get myself into a good close stance position, fairly balanced and poised. Just as the ball bounces, I've managed to get a decent shoulder turn, the racket's back and up, and I'm poised, probably ready to just make my final adjustments before starting my swing. It would be nice, again here, if I could have got a little bit more coil in the body to create a bit more energy for the shot. The contact point looks alright here. I've got a good swing on the ball. A good connection, turning my body into the shot. I do get a good connection here. I'm pretty well balanced and I have a good follow through, but I do notice that I start to sort of fall back the step after I've hit the ball, which suggests my balance isn't quite right or my weight transfer isn't maybe as good as it could have been. And it looks like I've tried to force the topspin a little bit here, which has actually caused the ball to drop a little bit shorter than I would have liked. But my recovery is good and I do manage to get into a similarly good position and set up ready for the next shot. My stance this time is a little bit more aggressive, a little bit stronger leaning forward, and I've got a similarly good contact position here out in front of me, turning body and hips into the shot again. I do notice that I seem to be using my leg for balance maybe more than my offhand, which is something that I might look to address in the future. I managed to come forward and through a little bit better on the follow through here. Again, looks good, a bit too much again balance from the leg rather than from the offhand, but I came much more solidly through the ball this time, as evidenced by the fact that I got a much better depth on the shot, a much more solid shot overall. Considering I taught myself this backhand from scratch, mostly without this kind of video aid, I've got to be honest, I'm pretty impressed with my progress. It's certainly serviceable, although I will admit that I do generally resort to the slice when put under pressure or when I'm really stretched. But it's really nice to have the option of both, and I'm going to keep working on it. Okay, so what have I learned from doing this analysis, and what are maybe the things that I can take away to make an immediate impact on my game? The first thing is something I've been conscious of for quite a while, and that's the use of my offhand, which was an issue on forehand and backhand here. I really want to start using this offhand more to firstly create a bit of space, but also just to create some balance and stability on the shots. I think it'll just contribute massively to improving consistency and through that control. The second thing I'd like to try and improve a little bit is just to add a little bit more coil to the shots, create a little bit more pent-up energy by twisting more shoulders between there and hips. This should create a little bit more natural and easy power on the shots, which will give me a choice, I guess, of either just hitting them a little bit more solidly and quicker, or whether I want to hit them at the same sort of pace and maybe add a little bit more topspin to my shots. The next and actually last thing that I specifically want to change in my game is around spacing. I find myself quite cramped on a lot of shots, and so I really just need to get my footwork sorted so that I can create that space, make sure I'm an appropriate distance from the ball and get a proper contact point. Again, consistency, control, power, stability in the shots, all of these things come together. And then there's just a couple of other points of note, I guess, takeaways from doing this analysis. And the first of those is around footwork and preparation. I've done pretty well when I'm in position and I'm well prepared nice and early. I tend to be able to hit really good, consistent, solid and controlled shots. It's sometimes when that isn't quite right, or I'm getting tired, or I'm not on the balls of my feet, I'm making more mistakes. So it's a really, really good reminder just to stay on the balls of my feet, stay alert and focused, and make sure that I'm moving quickly to the ball and well set up so that I can hit the best shot possible. And the final takeaway from this session is really just how much better I seem to hit the ball when in a practice session like this, when I'm just nice and relaxed and can take my time and just play a smooth and easy swing. Then my shots are good and consistent and solid with decent depth, and I'm placing them pretty much where I want to. So I've just got to try and make sure that when I'm in a game I don't tighten up too much, that I just remember to relax and play smooth strokes and trust my swings and not tighten up and shorten strokes because of that. And hopefully that'll just cut down a large amount on errors and just make me enjoy the game even a bit more. Anyway, thanks anyone who was listening or watching. This video was really made more for myself, just to try and help improve my game, but I'd appreciate any comments people have got. Leave them in the comments below. Happy to take on board any advice that other people might have about how I play my strokes and how I play. Always looking to improve, like I said before. And who knows, maybe I'll do a review of some of my shots in a couple of months' time and look at some of the clips of the other videos I've made in the meantime and see what improvements I've made. Thanks for watching. Bye all.